My name is Mary Wright. I've been teaching for a lot of years. I started out teaching in Maine and taught at John Baptist Regional High School, Boothbay Harbor High School, spent some time out in California, and then came back here to Kearsage Regional High School. And I think I'm in my 13th year. Lucky 13, right? Okay, Nick, if you want to go on to the next slide. The whole point of this, and I think John very nicely said that we're trying to increase student engagement, but at the same time hit those critical learning targets in the curriculum. And our school uses next gen science standards and Common Core. And so I sort of was looking through that, and I sort of addressed this in a three-pronged way: research, paper, and associated skills, particularly this year where labs in my situation, we're pretty much not able to do. The data analysis skills, and also can't forget that I'm teaching chemistry, and then we'll talk about the community service and outreach. So if you want to go on to the next slide, one way to think of this, I thought of this as an entire year planning, and so and the research, I broke it into sort of three parts. A lot of my students have never used a primary resource database. They don't know the difference between a peer-reviewed journal and Newsweek. I mean, they do know that the National Enquirer is not a good source. And so we had a curriculum progression. The same thing with the data analysis. Now, as John said, kids are not used to large data sets at all. And they're also not used to making graphs that don't show anything like it. So we had to start with, and we used the same program that he did, Tuva, and started building activities so that by this time of the year, they had done a number of little small activities so that they can now take a look at this really big 2,000 point data set and start asking their own questions. And then lastly, obviously, there's the course content in chemistry. How do you work that in? And it fit very nicely into nature of atoms and ions. Then when we do different reaction types, and ultimately being able to explain how a lot of these metal ions that have been tested for in their well water testing ends up in drinking water. Now, we're finishing up some of these end parts, and we're starting to talk about our community outreach. Go on to the next slide, please. And this end phase, and we're in the process. What is that going to look like in a COVID year? What kind of presentation could we do in a community meeting? I am trying to say, okay, well, if we can't perhaps bring a lot of people into the school, can we put pamphlets and posters in public places like libraries, pediatricians' offices, and things like that? And then we are organizing a conference with Baer High School, who's also part of this project. So that's sort of a flow chart of how I envisioned what we were going to do this year. You want to go on to the next slide, please. So some more details. Again, as I said before, I did ask students to pick a topic related to contamination of drinking water. A lot of the kids did choose arsenic. Others were really, really interested in lead and what happened in Flint, Michigan. Some kids were really interested in microplastics, pesticides. We have a PFAB issue. Plus, a number of students sort of knew already that they had high levels of uranium and radon. So they were really into looking at what they already knew was in their water. And as I said before, we did introduce how to do digital resource databases. They learned how to do an annotated bibliography, and then they did a completion of a research paper or presentation. I'm going to go on to the next slide. So again, to scaffold the curriculum right at the beginning of the year, even before we read about arsenic, we were doing a small unit on trends in the periodic table. Now, Tuva What's nice about it, it has some pre-canned data sets with questions that kind of step kids through it. And what's really nice about it is this is a smaller data set. It just had the 92 naturally occurring elements. And you could, the kids learned how to draw those nice lines that John showed on the data, and how some different ways of looking at things and how to filter the data. So this was one of the earlier activities, and you can go, what's nice about this particular product, you can go in and find larger data sets that also fit your chemistry or biology curriculum and sort of build up skills to deal with the big data sets. Now, my pictures and screen grabs are not as nice as John's, but let's go and take a look at a couple of them. Ways that some of the kids had looked at it. We looked at the arsenic data by zip code, because again, my Kearsarge Regional High School serves over 200 square miles and 7 communities. So doing it by school isn't as interesting. Now, in the state of New Hampshire, starting this July, the maximum allowed is 5 micrograms per liter. So it's a little bit different than Maine. So our line is down here at 5. And so the kids were drawing lines in there and taking a look at the number of data points in this. This is more than our district. I think this is Baer and Kearsage together, if I'm not mistaken, actually have high levels of arsenic. You want to go on to the next slide, please?
About 1 minute left, Mary.
Pardon? 1 minute?
About
Okay.
1 minute.
Okay. So again, what John found too, the type of well matters. Kids they loved the I didn't know type of well, but it was showing very similar to what he did. So I'll skip back, go on to the next slide. What's been the current discussion in our class is what responsibility do citizen scientists have to the community? So we've collected all this data, especially those with high levels, harmful levels. So this has been a very nice discussion, because I think the kids are realizing, okay, we know this about our community, and we sort of have a duty to do something. And this is the focus that we are taking right now. We're starting. And the kids they've done their research paper, they're looking at the data, we're still working with it, but how do we move forward, and how do we do COVID safe outreach? And that's sort of where we are. And I think I made it in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to pass this now on to my colleague at Colby Sawyer.
Thank you so much, Mary. So thank you all. And I'll give you a little bit of our work in collaboration with Mary and the Kearsarge system, and then also things that I wanted to integrate into our curriculum to help build our applied aspects in the environmental science program here at Colby Sawyer College. So the projects that we do at Colby Sawyer, we do have project-based learning built into our environmental science program. We found that it builds stronger engagement of our students, as many people have talked about already. You know, it's ways that we get our students applying their learning here at Colby Sawyer. And one of the things that we've been told a lot is that the Generation Z, that's the cohort moving through their college career now, are really looking for real world application and trying to do the science that they're learning. And so this project fit really nicely into our desire to hook our students into their learning. And we have some foundational courses that we do in our environmental science and studies programs. And then we have, during their junior year, a community-based research project, a much larger environmental consulting, if you will, project the students get involved in. And, you know, we really try in the program to immerse students in a year-long analysis in this community-based research project that gets them trying to solve environmental problems and working with stakeholders in the community. We look at it as a collaborative experience for them, and it really helps build the cohort and group dynamics within our students as they move through this process. So we've really enjoyed incorporating that. But one of the things that we've lacked in our curriculum is, so the community-based research project, I hope you can see my little mouse here, the arrow. It really focuses on, actually I should say ask, do you see my mouse right now?
Yes, we do, Nick.
Okay, I have two screens, so I'm not sure which one is going. That's great. So the community-based research project is occurring in the junior year, but you can see there's foundational courses prior to that. All our environmental science and study students come together for this project. And what we wanted to do is start building in these applied projects earlier on in the curriculum so that they had a toolkit going into this bigger consulting project, that community-based research project. And that's where this project fit in really well. So we're looking to stack applied projects across our courses. We had two real goals. One of them is trying to integrate student collaborations across different course levels. And then the second one is building in cohort projects, which this All About Arsenic project really fit nicely into. And so this project, the way we worked on it, it was and I loved Mary's description of how she integrated it into her curriculum, because we really paired them very similarly to Mary's goals. In, whether it's high school or these lower level college courses, we found it really great to have the students engage in a citizen science project where we had ads in the local paper. The students managed the intake of interest from the community and organized the kits that went out, collected the kits, entered all the data. So rather than the citizens entering the data, we collected all the information, and my students in my class went through and did all the data organization and sending the samples out for analysis. But built into that course, we also, just like Mary's class, had the students do a research paper. Many students picked arsenic, but just like Mary's, it was all about water contaminants. It's a water resources class that this was associated with. Students actually did, the first year, they did a presentation for Mary's chemistry class. So my students went to her class and gave a presentation. In the COVID year, this year in the fall, we were not able to do that, but the students put a presentation together nonetheless. The other things they did was, they helped manage and organize the citizen science of collecting the well water test. So it was very similar to Mary's experience with her high school students. And then we scaffolded it. So one of the things I really wanted to do in this idea of building the cohort experiences, the students who took that water resources class in the fall then take our GIS, or Geographic Information Systems course, in this spring. So the data they collected and the data points that were achieved in that data set, then they take all of the data from Maine and New Hampshire and they build it into curriculum in learning GIS skills. And so these are just some maps from one student looking at, the actual arsenic levels in the areas that were sampled in New Hampshire. Then she started asking questions about lung cancer rates in relation to historic arsenical pesticides, and trying to look at relationships, looking at contaminants and cancer rates. And then she looked more specifically at the county where we are in, Merrimack County, and the specific levels of arsenic here. So it's an opportunity for our for our students to apply the data to learning mapping skills in their future courses. One of the things that we found was, it was really beneficial. The students commented to have been part of the arsenic project and then use that information to learn their GIS skills. Students reported that, engaged them and enhanced their retention of the material for their mapping. So that was kind of exciting. We did a small little survey of a variety of projects I have them work on in that water resources class. In terms of understanding the content, the arsenic project rated quite highly in terms of their learning the material, and it also in terms of improving their quantitative and analytical skills. The arsenic project rated quite highly relative to the other projects I have them work on, which are all quantitative projects throughout that semester. And then also the last piece we did was sort of trying to get a response rate of just sort of how did that arsenic project spanning multiple semesters, did it help enhance your learning? And we see that, most of the students agreed that that was a really great way to sort of bridge from one course to another. So I actually applaud Mary's thoughts about trying to integrate it into the GIS class in theirs, because our students really responded well to it. And the last parting thoughts I have are just, it really did build nice opportunities for our students to do science and feel like they're contributing to an ongoing project. And I really will say that whether it's the Gen Zs or whether it's most of my students over the 16 years I've taught here, they like applied projects. I feel like it's a hook that really gets the learning across. And so I love integrating them in my courses. And the cohort piece, we really do like to look at trying to assess performance throughout their curriculum. And this is one way to do that. And then, we're always looking for other examples. So I throw out, what other examples are there, that have worked for people in this conversation today, because I'm always looking for new ideas to engage my students. So with that, I will end this talk, and thank you for your time.